Hello, everybody. Well, how are you? How have you been on this Easter? Yeah. So, on the next Saturday, the 10th, there are some fights that are worth talking about and predicting, I thought. And the first one is Joe Smith Jr. versus Maksim Vlasov, which is, of course, a light heavyweight fights for a vacant WBO title, actually. Yeah, so that guy, Joe Smith Jr., has really kind of been successful lately when he first beat Jesse Hart, and then in January last year, and then in August he knocked out or stopped Elider Alvarez. So yeah, but he has had a couple of losses to technicians such as Dmitry Bivol and Sullivan Barrera. In that Barrera fight he injured his hand, so yeah, it's not so fair to bring that up. And loss of Smith Jr. is 31 and he's 6 feet tall, and Vlasov is 34 and 6'3.5". So he's got a considerable height advantage, but he doesn't have a really big reach for his height, Mr. Vlasov. So yeah, he has had a few. Well, he was a cruiserweight actually before. That's why he's so tall. Yes, he lost to Krzysztof Głowacki in 2018. Yeah, and then he beat Isaac Chilamba in 2019 on points. But he's 34 already, so he's kind of nearing, he's at the end of his prime, definitely. So this event will take place in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where also we have Efe Ajagba, who will be fighting Brian Howard. That's not really the fight. Not worth talking about, really. So anyway, Joe Smith is definitely the favorite to win this fight. Well, whether it will be by KO or any kind of stoppage, that I'm not sure. It's possible, but he's fighting a taller guy, and one who has, been in there with some hard hitters such as Glovatsky, and hasn't been stopped. So yeah, I don't know if Smith Jr. can stop him, but it's possible. I mean, he definitely has the power and the capability. So yeah. So as I said, Smith Jr. should win this one, either by knockout or on points. But maybe it's more likely that he will win on points. I don't know, maybe. So that's all I'm gonna say about that fight. Right, alright. And then we move on. This is a 140. Jaron Ennis, who is undefeated, 26-0 with 24 KOs. Or sorry, this is a welterweight fight, actually. So he is a pretty formidable fighter on paper. He's also 5'10", and he's got 74-inch reach. Wow. So and he's 23, so he's got all the physical, you might say, advantages one can have, pretty much. And his opponent is Sergey Lipinets, who I guess most of you have heard of. He was the guy that sent Lamont Peterson into retirement, when he stopped him a couple of years ago. So Lipinets has got only one loss, which was to Mikey Garcia. Yeah, so it was a rather competitive fight, even though he lost, by clear scores, rather wide, but still, yeah, he went the distance anyway against Mikey, which was in itself an achievement, right? And yeah, so but he has been fighting as a welterweight actually since late 2018. I didn't know that. Wow. His last fight was in October last year when he drew against Castillo Clayton, who is also undefeated. Yeah, he's 32, 5'7". So this is a fight that on paper it favors Jaron Ennis, but Lipinets is a very good, very clever fighter, very tough. He can hit, he can box, he can, And the best name on this guy, this guy Ennis's resume so far is a guy who had seen better days, Juan Carlos Abreu. So yeah, I guess that was the best. So he hasn't really fought anyone of note yet, Jaron Ennis. He fought Chris Van Heerden in December, but that was stopped very early in the first round, a no decision. So this will be a really exciting indicator of just how good this guy Ennis is, because we have had we have had similar fighters like him before who looked very good on paper, were tall, had a lot of knockouts on their record. But then it would prove that most of these knockout victories were against guys that were either faded, not at their best anymore, or guys who never were any good. So so yeah, this will be a really good test for both guys. Yeah. So yeah, I would I wish I could see Ennis could get a hold on one of his fights, but still, as I said, he hasn't had many noteworthy fights yet. Well, Lipinets has the experience because he has been in there against some of the best, a few anyway, in these divisions. So he's got that experience advantage. And even though he's shorter, he doesn't mean that much. It's 3 inches. So I actually would think that Lipinets would be able to win this fight because because of what I already said, because Ennis still being relatively untested, got a pretty good record on first sight. Then you see it's padded, it's very padded. And but it's America, you never know how these judges can score a fight, and that's the worst thing, But still, Lipinets is a world-class fighter, that's for sure. Yeah. So he proved that several times, like when he stopped Lamont Peterson, for instance. Let's see who else has he beaten. Yeah, Akihiro Kondo, yeah, not that, Leonardo Zappavina, yeah, so it's good, it's got some decent, decent names, yeah. So I don't know really. This fight is pretty hard to call. It can go either way. So yeah, either that. But I doubt that Ennis will stop Lipinets because when if Mikey Garcia could not do it, then I sincerely doubt a guy like Ennis can. I would be unless it was a cut stoppage, of course. So I think this will go the distance very likely. Or maybe Lipinets can pull off a stoppage. I don't know. So I'm going for Lipinets. Yeah. And then yeah, this is let's see. Mhm. Mr. Jerwin Ancajas. It's one of the best Filipino fighters, boxers right now. Pretty amazing. He's fighting a guy called Jonathan Javier or Jonat Javier Rodriguez. In another defense of his IBF super flyweight title. So Ancajas has now been the IBF champion since 2016. Wow. So this will be his ninth defense. Ninth. Very impressive. And this guy, Jonathan Javier Rodriguez, he's got 22 wins with 16 by knockout and 1 loss, which was to some guy, unknown guy on split decision. So yeah, I really don't doubt that Ancajas will win this fight too. I mean, this guy Rodriguez doesn't look someone who can, realistically be expected to upset Ancajas. So yeah, most likely Ancajas of course has won most of his fights by knockout. So most likely this will also end that way, but maybe it can go the distance also. Let's say I think Ancajas will stop him in 8 rounds. Let that be my official prediction. Alright, so I am afraid that was all for now. Yeah, so I hope you'll be able to watch the fights, at least some of them. Yeah, Smith Jr. versus Vlasov is a fight definitely worth watching. Alright, thank you for following me, and till next time, bye bye.